Gardening. It boosts our mood, our mental well-being, our physical health. It feeds us, brings us peace and joy, draws whole communities together. No matter if you're a sophisticated horticulturalist, a flower adorer, or just starting to get green-fingered. No matter if your plants live in a pot or your garden blooms in full. No matter if you like to work with your hands or look for digital inspiration. No matter what season or stage of life, every bit of green planted helps us breathe a little easier and moves us closer to a better, more sustainable future. And we want the whole world to feel it. There are no rules. All it takes to garden is the passion to do so. Realize your gardening dreams. Gardena.
This is the Premier Garden Show. And here is your host, Anthony Faulkner.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Premier Garden Show. And another guest is on. Our episode number 79, I believe. And I am going back across again over the Irish Sea to a guest of mine that I'm delighted to have on because I'll explain in a little while. She writes for one of the magazines that I follow. Welcome on to the Premier Garden Show, Debbie.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the invite. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Anthony.
So I suppose, can you start off and tell my listeners who you are and, a brief of what you do?
Yes, sure. So my name's Debi Holland and I do a variety of things. One being I'm a professional gardener. I'm a organic wildlife gardener. I'm also a garden writer, writing for various magazines and websites. I take all my own photography and I also am a video creator. So I've been really enjoying a few years of also doing how-to videos and trying to do some nice simple videos to let gardening be as accessible as possible to people and get everyone excited about plants.
And then I suppose going back to the early days,
Mm-hmm.
were there anyone you maybe have looked at or got some inspiration from that kind of kicked the ball off?
Yes, I mean, right back to when I was a child. My mum grew up on a farm, and well, my dad did as well. But when we were small, my mum used to walk us around all the local countryside, and she did a lot of sort of foraging of surprisingly nettles and chamomile, and then she'd go home and make tea out of them. So I was always kind of used to being around the countryside. My dad was really into gardening, as was my grandparents. And I remember my brother and I always, they had the most amazing garden. And I think when you're young, having a garden to just run around in, and there was an orchard and you could virtually get lost in it. It was really exciting, with also a big greenhouse that us kids were told not to go into because they were the precious tomato plants in there. But it was lovely having all of this around you. And then obviously as you sort of grow older, different people have different influences on you. And gardening, there's just so many lovely people who have inspired me into getting into horticulture. From friends that are brilliant at growing sweet peas and dahlia, who, when my son was small, we always used to go to the WI Hall in my local village, and I'd buy a bunch of dahlias, and that was just amazing, and you've got all these wonderful people who are just so happy and keen to share their knowledge with you. I find it's a really, really great community of people, the horticultural industry, gardeners, they're very friendly.
We are. I think we're as I think it was Joe said to me last week. We're always keen to talk about gardens to everyone.
Oh yes.
We tend to not switch off, as I call it.
No, I do sometimes get told at home, like, "Oh, she's brought it back round to plants again."
Yeah. Days off going to garden centres and nurseries. It's
Yeah,
just
and visiting lovely inspirational gardens.
so. I suppose then we move on to college, and then you kind of got your diploma. Can you briefly tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the RHS diploma was absolutely fantastic and so fundamental in starting me having this incredible foundation of knowledge. It's a hard course. It's really intense, but so worth doing. So I took the practical and the theory part of the diploma. So the practical was based down in Cannington Walled Garden, which is also known as Bridgewater and Taunton College. And then the other half of it, the theory side of it, was up at Bristol Botanic Garden, which is nearer me. And absolutely fantastic, you know, all the science of the plants and everything, but then be able to go down, also down to Cannington, and then put all that knowledge into practice with the brilliant tutors down there. They're an absolute inspiration. So it was a really tough year, but I am so grateful to all the tutors who were just so inspiring, and for that knowledge that they shared. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and you're also, I think, a person that's big into organic gardening.
Yeah.
How important is, I suppose, how important is it being connected, to nature?
Oh, it's everything, and you know, quite often when you know things, they very much seem as if they put nature and us as separate, whereas we're all part of the same thing. And so once you know, it's never really occurred to me to do any different. You know, I would never use pesticides or anything like that. You Everything has its role in our garden, you know, in the garden ecosystem. And so even if it's something that we're a bit upset about because it might be something that's chomping our dahlias or our vegetables, they all have a part in the food chain. So if we disrupt it by trying to, you know, eradicate one troublesome creature that doesn't, you know, we're not too keen on, that could be a food source for another. Tinsfield actually were also really fundamental in this because they practiced organic gardening, so I had that brilliant foundation from the off. And so they would plant, you know, companion planting in the veg garden so that you had like strongly scented plants next to, you know, to deter carrot fly, that sort of thing. You know, lots of herbs, you know, brilliant for bees and all the pollinators. And you've got this big diversity of having lots of different types of plants in your garden. And then attracting ladybirds in, although, you know, you might not get that instant kind of zap that you'd get with a hideous, you know, bug killer, which I couldn't, you know, ever use. But if you allow your garden to just take the time, the natural, you know, hierarchy will sort itself out. And so, like in my garden, I've been inundated with ladybirds, which is great. And they've been, you know, eating the aphids and the black fly and so forth. And so it, you know, it all is sort of live and let live, isn't it? It will all sort itself out. Yes, you might lose a little bit. You know, you get some nibbles here and there, but the joy of, you know, all your plants are pollinated, and people love, you know, birds coming to their garden. Well, if you haven't got lots of the little mini beasts living on plants, there's nothing for them to eat. So everything has its place. So yeah, it's just really fundamental to me, the organic gardening. And what's lovely is the people that I look after their gardens. You know, we've introduced all organic practices in their gardens too, and they really embraced it all wholeheartedly. So yeah, we compost, we make our own mulch and leaf mulch, and, you know, garlic spray rather than really bad chemical spray, that sort of thing. It's more about deterring and rather than eradicating.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we don't have as well. I haven't seen in a long time a lot of ladybirds where we are.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I just years ago I would have saw lots of them.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
rare now over here. I come across a ladybird.
Do you know, it's really funny, but like maybe last week or the week, 2 weeks ago, the West Country just seemed to have an absolute infestation of ladybirds. It was bizarre. I did get some quite nice little videos on my phone because it was like incredible. There was just hundreds of them. Never seen anything like it. It was amazing. So yeah, maybe I don't know. I'd like to think that people also are being more thoughtful. There's so much press also about, you know, rewilding your gardens and organic gardening, and I think lots of people are really embracing that and planting lots of different plants. And then hopefully these spaces, your garden is just such an incredible space to attract wildlife. I think sometimes we can all feel a little bit overwhelmed or kind of like, goodness, what could just my actions do? I'm just one person, but all joined up together. You know, we're us gardeners, we're like mycelium, we're like the network, you know, everybody joined together and it actually has a really big impact. So, like, for example, in our garden last year, I was so excited because for the first time ever, we had a hedgehog living in our garden. And I was just beside myself. I was like a big kid. But the changes that we did within our garden was like we had a new, because it's a very sort of wildlife organic garden, but it is on a 1970s housing estate, and it was quite difficult for the creatures to get in to our garden. So we replaced the gate with on purpose leaving a gap under the gate, and that changed it. Suddenly, the creatures had access in and out, and this was it. You'd hear the rustle at twilight if you're sitting out, and you could hear the little feet going over the slate. It was amazing.
Holland, they kind of, I think they've introduced kind of roadways over the motorways to connect.
Brilliant.
I did see a few kind of things like that where they've literally connected the wildlife to the other side. When they put
fantastic.
in a motorway, it's kind of some kind of a rule now over there that you have to, you know, give the creatures or the wildlife a pat across the motorway. So they've kind of created like a road,
brilliant.
like for them to just go across. Like, so it is important to get more, not just, you know, you're looking at bumblebees, butterflies. You know, we need to get a lot more, you know, in around our gardens, and I think we're kind of started there. We're not there, but we've kind of, I think everyone has kind of started to do that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen it also a lot on the farmers' fields as well. There's a lot more wildflower meadows where, you know, than say like 5 years ago. I've just recently come back from Cornwall, which was beautiful. And wow, butterflies. Absolutely everywhere, and but there are just fields and fields and fields of, you know, wildflower meadows, and it's really you can see the impact. It's huge. So yeah.
You started off a year before me in business.
Really? Okay.
Was it you were 2015? I think I saw. I was 2016. I started my garden landscaping business.
Brilliant.
So we're not too far off in.
Yeah. So it's so like, so that's interesting.
Now, how did you find the early days of that?
Well, really good and really hard work. I mean, goodness, gardening's exhausting. You know, it's really tiring. I'm not a landscaper at all, so fair play. You know, goodness, yeah, that's you know, a different, you know, set of skills and a jolly hard work. But in terms of designing, I design with plants, so people, you know, have me design borders and parts of their garden and that kind of thing, which is lovely, because then you can have a great influence on what plants. Make sure you've got a lovely diverse range of plants and open, you know, single open flowers so that the bees can really easily access it, and hoverflies and butterflies. So yeah, no, that's really, yeah, brilliant. So yeah, so we started out roughly about the same time then.
Yeah, that was around 2016 when I kind of ventured into that kind of part of it. I've kind of took a step back from that and kind of concentrated on design. I still love the landscaping, or I still love the gardening part of it.
But design.
I'm still not able to just sit in an office.
No, I think it's nice to have the balance between doing some things on your laptop and all that sort of aspect of it. But it's so important to be outside, having that connection with outside and seeing what happens in your garden every day, every week, season to season. I mean, I think what's been really interesting now is because the people's gardens I look after, some of them have been right from the beginning. So, some of them I've known for like 10 years or 7 years, 5 years. And so the plants that are in there, of course, you've really seen each revolution, each year of what's happening, what successes, what weather has made a really significant good and bad, and what plants work where, and some plants, the best will in the world, you can really fancy a plant and just think, cool, I have got to have that. You can't help yourself. And if you haven't got the right soil or conditions, the plant's like, no. Whereas, you can take a lot of inspiration from what's naturally self-seeding in your garden, because that's what, hopefully it's not just bindweed, but but that's what wants to grow there. I'll come back to what you were saying about the early days again in a minute, but another thing I really take inspiration from is I do a lot of hiking, and I love spending a lot of time in mountains, and I always spend a lot of time looking at what plants grow where. And when you see a plant in its natural environment, whether it's up a mountain on a scree slope or in a bog, that tells you the key to where it wants to grow. And so then I can take that information back to my clients' gardens, and I'm more, accurately armed to advise what's going to grow successfully where. So yes, I love going out and finding wildflowers, whether it's in a wood, up a mountain, round a lake, anywhere. It's just brilliant. But
Yeah, you also, I think you've done something that's very, very, I suppose, important, but also I think myself being through it, you also done a few talks on mental health. How
oh yes,
important
yeah,
is, I suppose, I find gardening, beneficial to my mental health, but how
yeah,
important is gardening really to our
yeah,
mental health?
super important, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've got personal experience myself. I lost my dad last year, and we had a really horrible time all while he was ill. And gardening is just such a switch off. To be able to just escape off from all the horrible stuff that's going on that you can't do anything about, and to be able to just get your head down, get your hands in the soil, in the dirt, and just concentrate on the plants, and watching things grow does, sounds a bit cheesy, but it does give you hope. It's about the future. You're looking forward. And also with quite a few of my clients actually, there's been, as you can imagine, over a 10-year period, you've experienced every possible thing, from sadly losing some people to illnesses and so forth. And gardening, some people who've been suffering either their partner or themselves with long-term illnesses, and gardening has been absolute therapy. And in with some people, we garden together, and we are working, I promise, but we chat and chat and chat. And it's just different. If you were sat in a room opposite somebody, it's a bit intense, even if you were having a nice chat, with a cup of tea opposite each other. But when you're actually doing a task, whether it's edging or weeding, weeding is just blissful, to be honest. I mean, it's such a therapeutic job, and you can get great satisfaction from that, because if you're growing some seedlings or whatever, and it's absolutely smothered with everything, and you can spend an hour, 2 hours, and at the end of it, you've really got something to show for it. So you can feel like that's a win. You can feel satisfied. I've achieved something. I feel good about that. And who can argue with something that just makes you feel good about yourself? And also, if you can give that to others, spend some time with people that might be really struggling. It's just really, the gardening is therapy in so many ways. It's so beneficial. So yeah, I really, really highly recommend it. So yeah.
Yeah, you kind of just briefly you touched on there weeding. I thought I was
Yeah.
the only one that actually enjoyed weeding.
Do you know, I love weeding.
Well, I do too, and people kind of be looking at me thinking, "Are you mad?" And I go, "No, I'm quite happy here with all these weeds.
Yeah.
Finding out what plant is actually here, where
Yeah.
someone might say to you, "Look, I think I have a few plants in the garden, and there's a bit of weed there," and you'd be there. you're looking forward to seeing what they actually have planted when you kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's kind of like, if I'm not gardening with someone, I'm on my own, then I have my earpods on and I'm listening to podcasts or an audiobook. And so there we go. I was listening to you today.
I just have you bring me on to like you are a keen writer and you have started writing for a lot of kind of magazines and stuff like that. I just even have beside that like a little note where I put down Modern Gardens magazine,
Yeah,
a magazine that I would literally buy every month, and I have
that's
been buying it
brilliant.
for many years. I loads of them just built up in the press.
Oh, wow.
Where did I suppose the love for writing come from?
Oh, well, do you know what? I honestly have always written, even as a kid. And I know it sounds a bit mad, but even since primary school, I've kept a diary. I don't feel organised unless I'm writing everything down. And I've always been a big reader, and it all kind of goes hand in hand. And even when I was younger, I was sort of writing little stories and that kind of thing. And then when the gardening really took off, I started out by doing a monthly newsletter for all my clients. And it was just a kind of what's going on in the garden this month, what to plant, what to sow, and that sort of thing. And I did it the really old school way of printing it all out, putting it in envelopes. It took forever, and then taking it round to everybody each time I went to their house, and then giving them this newsletter every month. And then I kind of thought, that'd be really good to have a website, rather than this, information just going to a few people. It'd be quite nice to have, if it's helpful to more people. So I set up my own website and started doing a diary on there of, things I'd been doing, or garden visits, because I'm a really keen photographer, and so if I go to a garden, I can't help myself, I have to photograph every aspect of it and every plant, just to kind of like log that memory of what it was all about. And so one day I entered a photography competition for Richard Jackson Garden and won, which was really cool. And then they contacted me, and we just got on great on email. And actually, off their own back, they went and had a look at my website, and they liked the blogs, and then they asked me to start writing features for them. And that was years ago now. So, and I'm really, really grateful, because it's just been a fantastic experience. And I still write for them now. It's grown even more now to not just the features, but also regular, well, actually it's every week now. This is kind of a new thing this year, but every week doing how-to videos. So it's I just absolutely love it. It makes me really think about what I'm doing with tasks, because it's funny, I mean, you're probably the same, like you can be in autopilot quite often when you're gardening, because you sort of you do it every day, and sometimes you just do it. And so when I got to try and explain something to someone about, how is the easiest, most simplest way that I can explain to somebody who perhaps doesn't have green fingers, they don't know much about plants, but it's trying to make things as accessible to people as possible, so that everybody feels they can just give it a go and not be frightened by things. It's all about just getting stuck in, to be honest. The worst thing that's going to happen, okay, the plant might die, but you've learned something. It's kind of like, if it does, then you've probably thought, I've watered it too much, or not enough, or whatever the thing is. So, I'm really grateful to have been given the opportunity to be able to write about plants and make videos about plants. So it started with Richard Jackson Garden, and then that's gone on, and I just absolutely love it. And then it was Garden News. I, for 2.5 years actually, wrote a column for them voluntarily, it was called Over the Fence, where they take readers, gardeners, and you basically each month do show them what projects you're doing and what plants you're throwing, and that was just really great fun. And then I was fortunate enough that a job came up there, and I was offered it, and so now I'm part of the What to Do This Week team. So every week I put a load of ideas forward, and then I get given the brief of what they'd like me to do that week. And my fantastic clients are really, really kind and let me take photos of me doing the task while I'm doing the job in their garden. Sometimes they even take the photos, or I'm just otherwise got it on a self timer. But it's great, because it really makes you kind of think about what you're doing. And then all features for them too. You could pitch for features there. And then Plantsmith, which is a houseplant company, and it's actually affiliated with Richard Jackson Garden. Richard Jackson's son is the Plantsmith houseplant element of it. So I'd been for about 3 years, I think, writing features for them, and for a couple of years I've been doing videos. But the big news, quite recently, gone live with a new website and new self-watering pots. So they're going to be actually selling houseplants now. And so I've started making videos for them too. So that's really, really exciting. And I'm very much into tropical plants and obsessed with houseplants. My house, I've got a few in the background there, but honestly, you can barely move. It's like a jungle, my house. But it's brilliant because, again, you're writing about plants, but the plants live with you. You're seeing them every day. What they don't like, what conditions. Oh, that one's that's too hot, intense sun. Move it. Other ones too much shade, or it's all about kind of learning what your plant needs and then adapting and moving it so that it's got the best possible conditions. So really super, super happy to be working in with plants, house plants as well. That's just great. And then, like you said, the last main one that I work on is Modern Gardens. So I started working for them last year, and again, absolutely love it. So I sort of do between 2 or 5 features a month, and it's really, really creative magazine, very project based, DIY projects, craft projects. It's really about inspiring people to just really enjoy their outdoor space. And
I got a lot of inspiration over the last couple of years from that.
Oh, and all the photography is gorgeous, and you're just like, oh, I want to do that project. Yeah, it's brilliant. So I've absolutely loved working with them, and being given various projects and then breaking it right down. I mean, it's quite good. It sort of goes back to my art days, actually. About breaking art projects down and how can you build this and put it. Where can you buy all the products? It's quite product based as well, and then very much wildlife in the garden. We're always plugging how can you just instigate more beneficial factors in your garden for wildlife, whether it's a bug hotel or just leaving water out for wildlife. It's so important, integral. It's good fun.
I look at that magazine in a different going forward now. I know I kind of have had a chat with you. I kind of now have a little connection with that magazine going forward. It'll be something to look out for. You've also travelled a lot over the years, and you've come across, I suppose, many and in many a country.
Yeah, very lucky.
Any ones that kind of stand out to you, I suppose, that you may have, other countries that you may have journeyed into and come across something that you can't, that you can't forget?
Well, yeah. Oh goodness, how long have we got? It's like, I guess countries when I was younger that was really influential to me. So 3, Tenerife, which was the first place I ever went with my parents abroad, and it was mind blowing. Just such a petri dish of incredible plants, that are quite a lot of them are sort of endemic to that island. And then I went back with my family and our son on his first big trip on a plane, because we have travelled to France quite frequently. But and goodness, the plants, they're just mind blowing, so diverse. So that was huge. Very, very exciting country, Tenerife. And then further afield, but ones that have, it's kind of South America and the Caribbean. I was very, very lucky in my late teens and early 20s that my parents let me come on holiday with them. And I was like, oh, yes, please. And Jamaica, Mexico. I'm obsessed with Mexico. Just absolutely love Mexico. And of course, so many of our garden plants that people love over here are Mexican. It's incredible, or originate from Mexico, like dahlias. And the other really mind-blowing thing that was so lucky to do was we went to Venezuela, and we actually took as part of a trip, but took a light aircraft into the Amazon rainforest, and that was completely and utterly mind-blowing. It was just so lucky to see that, and so it's been really hard. I haven't been back there since as an adult, but all the deforestation and everything is very hard to listen to and hear and read, and in many ways you can feel really powerless about what's going on in other countries, and so we all have to find a way that we can do our own thing. Now, for me, you can communicate that through your writing or through your videos, and also just like individually in your own garden, because like how I said, all of us connected, all join up. If we all do a little thing, it might seem tiny, but it might just be putting the water out for the birds, or planting some flowers that are great for pollinators. But if you attract them all in our own way, we're all doing our bit to help the wildlife, help plant a tree. That's one of like the most fundamental things you can do that's really beneficial to so many wildlife and to us and the planet, with providing shade and so forth. So I'm very, very, very lucky to do all those travels, and then in my adult life I've really embraced the UK. My husband and myself are real walkers, and we love spending time in the Lake District and Wales and Cornwall and Exmoor and everywhere, just walking, but exploring. And he's very patient because I am a bit of a nightmare with stopping taking photos of plants. But we're still married, so it's okay.
That kind of brings me on to photos. You do kind of love. It is one of your passions, taking photos.
Yeah, I love it. It's like my memory bank, really. It's like so much goes on in life all the time. And I just, it feels like you've kind of, you've captured that precise moment when you've taken your photo, whether you're taking a photo of your garden, which is really helpful. I take far too many photos, I know that, but I do look at them and they've been incredibly beneficial with the people's gardens that I look after, because all the before and after photos and so forth, and what does that garden look like at different times of the year? What bulbs did you plant? I've been there before and people just literally can't remember what bulb. It's okay, I'll go back on my extensive photo library and we can pin down exactly, what was growing where. It's great for crop rotation in vegetable gardens as well. And like I say, I'm absolutely love taking photos, but exploring plants that are growing at altitude. Actually, it's the French Alps and the Lake District particularly have done a lot of walking and a lot of exploring of the plants there, and they just fascinate me because they're plants that are really growing in adverse conditions, and they have to put up with a lot. Harsh winds, scorching sun, snow, rain, you name it really. Quite often there's hardly any soil. They're growing in scree and a bit of grit. And it's quite funny when you think back to how much we pamper our plants at home quite often. And then you've got these resilient plants that are just growing against adversity, self-seeding here and there. And it's very, very fascinating. Like the life cycle of alpines, they have such a short period of time where when the snow's receded, and they have to do their entire life cycle in what can be like a few months. So it's very fascinating. You can take all these all these photos and information back from your travels and then relate it back to our gardens at home. Yes, I have to confess I do take a lot of photos, but it gives me a lot of pleasure. Yes, it's my memory bank.
I suppose one question that I've kind of asked the last few guests, and that is working with kids and educating kids
Oh,
when it
yes.
comes to gardening, which I think is probably, I don't know about over with G, over here. It's only in the last year or two that some of the schools have started to kind of introduce that part into it.
Thank
Like, how
goodness.
important is it to kind of educate our kids,
Huge.
not only
It.
growing vegetables, but getting them to know where things are coming from. That it's not just coming from a supermarket.
Sure. No, you've hit the nail on the head. It's absolutely crucial. It was when my son was younger, he's 19 now, but when he was younger, I was very involved with our local school and also our local scout group. I was one of the assistant leaders there and did my utmost to get the kids as interested in plants as make it accessible again. I was, say, like when my son was doing his GCSE, I was always horrified at what some of the topics were. Not everything is completely great, useful information to take on forth into our adult life. And really, I mean, what can be more important than growing food? Which we all found in lockdown, when suddenly it's kind of like, oh gosh, okay, the supply chain, everything's broken down. But if people who had the skills and the seeds were able to do this at home, it was absolutely fundamental. So one thing I loved doing at my son's primary school, he had many fantastic teachers, but particular fantastic teacher let me go in and do workshops with the children, like in a big group, and they had little raised beds outside, and so we got them all growing lots of vegetables. And then another group I had a lot of seed, and they all scattered wildflower seeds so they could get involved with actually doing that. And it's amazing seeing how interested and focused children are if you give them a job to do. And so rather than some can be a little bit kind of like, if they're in the classroom, to go and listen to them reading, but they're so engaged, they love it. Being out in nature and just outside, you just get a completely different interaction. And then also with scouts, I would go in and we would plant seeds in pots and get them all doing this, and then do a workshop on showing children how to plant seed and how to pot on plants. And it's really good getting them involved. And the other thing actually, it can be really important to go and visit flower shows and gardens, because you're always learning something, and something will crop up that you didn't know about. And actually, it was the 2015 Chelsea Flower Show, and I spotted they were doing the Tim Peake rocket science project, where basically they were inviting schools to write in, and you could get a pack, and you got a couple of seeds packets. One had been to space and one hadn't, and you had to get all the children involved. It was all very scientific, and it was an experiment to see whether actually really, if seeds went into space, could they still grow when they're back on planet Earth. So I'd seen this, it was almost as I was leaving, I was like, oh my gosh, it's absolutely fantastic. So came home, found out all about it, went in and spoke to his teacher, and she was absolutely amazing at being really proactive. The head teacher was really behind it. And so we got the pack in, and then I went in and, took the class for the afternoon, showing the children what to do. And then it was great. They had the responsibility of then having to keep those seeds alive and all the seedlings, and they were really into it. So seeing that joy and that engagement from people is just brilliant. And of course, all the youngsters, if they've got these foundations in their childhood, then it might not be something that they immediately go into, but it's there, and it's something that they can come back to. A bit like what I've done. You've got those foundations in your life, and you go off in different paths. We've all done it, all different directions. And then when the time is right in your life, you might, refind plants or horticulture and gardening, and bring you a lot of joy. So educating children in gardening and planting is absolutely fundamental. Yes.
Joe
And you had
brought up the same thing. Joe Harrison brought up the same thing about, you'll come back to it. You'll come back to it in later times of
Yeah,
your life, like he would have, learned from his fathers and things like that. But it
yeah,
was always there, and he said the same thing with his kids. He'll introduce it to them, but then they'll probably go and do their own thing. But they'll always
yeah.
probably come back to it in a couple of years, and they'll repeat the
Yeah,
same thing with their kids.
absolutely. Like my son was always down the allotment and he loved it when he was there. I mean, because there was berries everywhere. So of course he was, scrumping all the berries all the time but not into it now. That's fair enough, but it might be something that some element of it has some fascination when he's older. And you had on your show Lee Connolly, skinny Jean Gardner, who's an utter inspiration. And no, what he's done is just phenomenal, because he's absolutely raised awareness, and he's relentless. He's always trying hard to spread the word and get education into schools and get kids involved. And yeah, him and Olive, they're absolutely brilliant dream team,
Yeah,
aren't they?
I kind of, like he's introducing a kind of a fun kind of a show, to incorporate gardening, but also, as I said to him, it looks like a bit of a magic show, but he's bringing that fun
Oh
to,
yeah, yeah.
to gardening.
Really, you've got to make it fun. Make it fun and funny, and then you've got children's attention. Then, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't think you can sit down with kids and kind of
Mm.
put it up on a screen and kind of get them to.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you need
And
to
I
kind
mean,
of get them involved more.
totally. And people learn in different ways, don't they? I mean, um, you might not get on very well in a classroom. You might be dyslexic, and it's a really big deal to be having, a PowerPoint presentation, baffling you, and loads of long essays and so forth. But if somebody gives you something practical and visual, you're more likely to remember it. I mean, I think that's probably why also, like, YouTube channels are just so beneficial to people if you need to find something out, because rather than sitting down and, I mean, I love books, don't get me wrong, I've got
Mm.
hundreds of them, but I think there's a place for everything. And if you really need to find something out and properly remember it, if you watch a video of someone showing you how to do it, you think, oh, okay, I'll go and do that, I'll go and give that a try. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was on a program on RT there a few years ago, 2018, a kind of a garden design program. I kind of brought up the one thing I brought up was, you can learn, like going to college or learning
Mm,
all about, garden design or being involved in gardening.
yeah,
You only really start to learn it when you're out in the.
yeah, in the field, in the garden, yeah.
Right, you can
No,
have
that's
all
so
the
true.
pictures like that in the world, but until you're kind of being, you're out there in
Mm,
all the weather, and
yeah,
it's only then you can really properly, I don't think it's something you can focus really on in school, like inside a classroom. It's not a
sure.
topic that you can, it's not like maths or English.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
You don't
Yeah,
need to do so
you
much
need
of
to
it
be
in
doing
school.
it.
You need to be out, and that's why I think it's not as, I suppose over here it's not as big. I don't know as England,
Hmm.
but I'm kind of pleased to see some of the schools the school I even went to, they've kind of started putting in greenhouses, and they've started putting in
Oh, fantastic.
polytunnels and stuff like that. So they're really starting to kind of do it from an early stage and introduce it into their school days.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So you also, before I let you go, you also do, I wouldn't say mad things in your spare time. Um, we all have hobbies, don't get me wrong. I can't swim, so I can't really say I could take up your hobby. Um, but you do like to free dive.
Yeah. Goodness. Last year, we decided to start freediving, and it kind of stems from my background. I worked as a professional scuba diver. I was a PADI dive master, so I went through the whole system and looked after students in Malta, Red Sea, Brighton, Bristol. Worked for two different schools, and then that was actually my sort of TV job, was primarily underwater, working in studios, doing pop promos and films and documentaries and so forth. Loads and loads of fun. And then had my child and, concentrated on bringing up the family and working and all those things that we all have to juggle. And I miss being underwater so much. And so we did do a little try dive when we went to Tenerife with my son, and that was just, honestly, it was like coming home. It was just absolutely heaven to be underwater again. And then my husband's so lovely. He was like, right, how can we? He got very interested in the whole apnea, the breath holding, and so yeah, we've been going down to Cornwall, around Falmouth and Heligan. Around, we've just come back from Heligan, actually staying at the Lost Gardens of Heligan campsite, which was absolutely gorgeous, and yeah, just spending as much time as possible underwater. But rather than scuba diving, where obviously you do need, the tanks and a lot of kit and maybe to go on the boat, what's so lovely about free diving is it's so simple and really accessible. And once you've got the kit, I mean, obviously for this country you do need to wear a jolly nice warm wetsuit. It's a bit parky, but other than that, once you've got your mast, snorkel, some fins and a weight belt, that's it. There's no technical equipment. You haven't got to worry about compressed air or anything. It's purely your lungs. And so it's a nice kind of clean sport. It's about keeping healthy and trying to improve yourself. And but I was just so overwhelmed by how much is going on underwater, just offshore of where everyone's on the beach. It's mind blowing, and the seaweed. I mean, goodness me, it's the variety and colours of seaweed is just mind blowing. It's absolutely beautiful, and the marine life so close to the coast. We saw dogfish, beautiful starfish and everything. So yeah, this has been is quite a new venture. Just got stuck in last year, and then we've really embraced it this year. But it's brilliant, and of course bringing it back to plants, the kelp and seagrass and all the seaweeds fascinate me. So it just gives me another new project to research and find out about and get genned up about. And funny enough, my end of year documentary that I made at university was about Surfers Against Sewage and water pollution down in Cornwall, and it's very sad actually, but however many years ago that was, we're still having the same conversations about water pollution and all these dreadful things that break my heart. But we just need to keep talking about it, and the more people are on board with trying to do something about it, whether it's doing beach cleans or whatever, then the better. And then hopefully, people power, we can try and clean up our seas, because they are so fundamental to life on the earth.
Yeah, it's like another world. What's underneath, what's underneath the water, and like there's creatures and things like that. But as you said, it's shocking how many times you're kind of faced with seeing photos or videos of sea animals. And kind of even down to a bit of plastic ring off a bottle.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
It is, and that kind of goes back to our own kind of. I think they've started little bits like the caps. I don't know, over in England, is your caps attached to the bottle, and we've started now a bottle.
Absolutely.
Can. We pay 15 cent or 25 cent, depends on the size of the bottle or can. And then we pay extra, and then we have to bring it back to the machine in the supermarket and put the bottles back in, and we get back money.
Oh, that's good.
So we've introduced that, I'd say, this year, the start of this year.
Right.
And I'd say that the amount of bottles and cans that are literally going back to the supermarket into these machines is, I've rarely come across a can or a bottle on any street I've been on.
Oh, that's fantastic, because rubbish does really bother me. Yeah,
no, we bought in this return system that I think people were giving out about, because whatever you pay for a bottle or can, you're paying an extra cent on the size. So a big larger 2 litre bottle is 25 cent on top of what you're paying.
So it's a great incentive.
Yeah, and then you bring them all back. Like, you get the receipt to spend, you can get the money back or spend it in the shop, or you can give it to charity. There's an option to give.
Oh, that's great.
So there's no, I haven't come across a bottle or a can really.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Really. Yeah. I think I saw videos on TikTok and Facebook of people saying that in England, putting up that that they're saying England are kind of going down this route. So I think it is something
In.
venture, yeah. But it seems to be
Yeah.
working well over here because, as I said to
Yeah.
you, apart from having your caps attached to the bottle, you're now bringing the bottles back.
Yeah.
You know,
No, it's so better. It makes so much more sense because you can't always trust that things are actually going to be recycled. Even if you recycle all your stuff, you don't really know what's happening to it. So if something's, like glass bottles, for example, if you've just got the glass, I know it's cost, I know infrastructure, but it seems a crying shame when something like it goes back and all has to be melted back down. It seems like it would be much more sensible if there was some sort of system where you could, literally just recycle it at a particular depot. But anyway, yeah, all food for thought. But that's great that that's happening in Ireland. That sounds really positive.
yeah. So I suppose then going forward for the rest of the year, and I suppose we're nearly out of this year.
I know, I
I'll
can't
say
believe
the
it.
rest of the year, but it's literally nearly over.
Halfway through. God,
The
don't
year
say
has just gone.
that.
So what plans have you for probably the rest of the year, and have you any plans that you can talk to us about going forward next year?
Well, the exciting Plantsmith is the really exciting because it's all just happening now. Their new website and selling self-watering pots for their houseplant range. So that's really good. So I'm very much looking forward to embracing doing lots of videos about houseplants. So that's the next few months really getting my teeth into. I've got an exciting trip coming up in autumn to go hiking in Chamonix. So I'm going to use that opportunity to take a lot of photos of plants and have a really good look at what's growing where at what time. So I cannot wait to do that. That would be really, really inspiring. And yes, all the other projects are kind of bubbling along, garden uses every week and modern gardens, and Richard Jackson, and they are kind of a rolling schedule. So yeah, very lucky. I just absolutely love it. I'm so grateful for what horticulture's given me. It's this whole new life that I just love. And I'd say one of the most important thing is all the people that I've met along the way. It's just such a fantastic community of people. It's just, I've made the bestest friends, and it's wonderful to have so many people that also love talking about plants. It's great.
Yeah.
But everybody's so friendly and sharing, and they're very, people are so sharing with their knowledge. It's not all kind of like, keep it to yourself sort of thing. People want to share that, and it's all this connection with everybody, which is what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I've made a lot of connections over the last couple of months that I literally can turn to, or I can ask for a bit of advice, and I've never got anything back with a nice answer back from anyone I've approached. I've had so many types of guests on that I'm kind of learning myself from them, but also I can reach out. Example, Peter, I could reach out to Peter in the morning and say, Peter, I'm designing this garden, or I'm looking at this idea, and he always would be straight back with a mail or a voicemail. And so I've the last couple of months I've started to kind of really meet a lot of great people, and that's what's about. And I think that's
It is
the whole purpose, I think, of when I started this podcast, was literally to meet these people and get to know these people and reach out and interact with others and kind of
absolutely.
and look, everyone, every day is a school day. We're always.
It is, isn't it? And everybody has a different set of skills, and so it's fantastic that all these different people that all of us come in contact with, somebody has a different experience, their different knowledge and skills, and they share that nugget with you, and it's just amazing. And it might be how to look after a particular plant, or if you've got a particular trouble with a plant, or with an element of something that's not quite working right in your garden, then everybody's really up for helping everybody out. So no, it is a fantastic industry to be involved with. But yes, never ever stop learning.
No. So look, Debbie, thank you so much for taking the time out. I can see you're a busy person, really. You're always on the go, doing this, doing that. So thanks so much for taking the time out and, considering having a chat on my podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Honestly, it's been an absolute honour, and I really do appreciate you asking me. Thank you so much. It's been a complete pleasure to talk to you, and stay in touch.
Of course I will. As I said to you, I have a little bit of a connection with, and I must have a look in the shop tomorrow, because gardening news isn't something that I kind of can
Okay.
visualize. So I must
Yeah.
check out to see, can I get it, because it's a magazine that just didn't come to my head.
Okay, cool. Yeah, have a
So I
look.
must,
Yeah. Hope you like
and
it.
as I said, yeah, I'll keep looking out for you on modern
Thank
gardens as well.
you. Thank you so much.
So everyone, that ends another week on the Premier Garden Show. Another guest has come and gone. I want to say thank you so much, Debbie, for taking the time out and coming on to the Premier Garden Show. I wish you all the best going forward, and please do keep in touch with us. So guys, you can catch tonight's episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts in both video and in audio, and you can check out our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and also check out our YouTube channel. Just search the Premier Garden Show. So directly after tonight's episode has aired, you will catch a clip of next week's guest on the Premier Garden Show, and that episode will be airing on next Tuesday, the 19th of August. So guys, that's about it. Just want to say, coming soon on the Premier Garden Show, we have a 14-time Chelsea award-winning landscaper coming on to the Premier Garden Show, Garrett K. Wilson. We also have an award-winning floral design company in Dublin, flowerpop.ie, will be coming on to the Premier Garden Show, and some others on the Premier Garden Show over the next coming weeks. Award-winning garden designer Rachel Bailey Studios. Also, we have award-winning garden designer company Kinselak Gardens, and also TV presenter Michael Perry, also known as the Plant Geek. And also we have an award-winning garden designer, a tropical plant expert, Kate Mason, I'm delighted to say, is joining us on the Premier Garden Show. And also we have a landscaping company up in Dublin, Allenscapes, will be joining us on the Premier Garden Show. And also we will be jumping on with another podcast channel, and that is the Plant Pod, over the coming weeks. And also finally, towards the end of August, we will be joining award-winning garden designer and TV presenter Lucy Wilcox. So all that and more coming up on the Premier Garden Show. Also check out, towards the end of this week, you can check out our monthly gardening podcast with Johnstown's very own Kieran Burke will be joining us this week as well. So that is a bonus for you this week. You get 2 podcast episodes this week. You get tonight's episode with Debi Holland, and you also get our monthly gardening podcast with Johnstown Garden Centre's very own Kieran Burke and myself. So guys, that's about it. Please like, follow, subscribe to all our pages. Please get in contact with the Premier Garden Show, and also please mind yourself, mind each other, stay safe, keep your hands in the dirt and your heart in nature. Until the next time on the Premier Garden Show.
Thanks for listening to the Premier Garden Show, and we will see you in the next episode. Be sure to like, share and subscribe, and join all our social media.
Dreaming of having the perfect garden? Gardena has everything you need, from gardening tools, watering systems and pumps to robotics, soil cultivation, and tree and shrub care. See the complete range at gardena.com and realize your gardening dreams. Gardena.